As calls grow for accountability for Wednesday's insurrection at the U.S. Capitol, NBC News has learned that the FBI and Washington, D.C.'s Metropolitan Police Department are conducting a federal investigation into the tragic death overnight of Capitol Police Officer Brian Sicknick, one of at least 60 officers who suffered injuries amid the clash between the pro-Trump mob and law enforcement. He's the fifth person to die. Prosecutors also announcing charges from the riots. Richard Barnett is one, seen here with his feet on a desk in Nancy Pelosi's office. He was arrested and charged this afternoon in Arkansas with entering and remaining on restricted grounds, violent entry, and theft of public property. He's one of only a few dozen arrested now. 48 hours later, 13 have now been charged in federal court. Though, obviously, for all of us watching, it was thousands and thousands who stormed the Capitol. Joining our conversation, Democratic Congressman Sean Patrick Maloney of New York. Congressman, I wonder first if I can get your reaction on this article of impeachment against Donald Trump, and I'll just read a little bit more from it. It says that Donald Trump engaged in high crimes and misdemeanors by willfully inciting violence against the government of the United States. Also says that President Trump gravely endangered the security of the United States and its institutions of government. Your thoughts?
That's exactly right. And it's not just Donald Trump. Remember, this is about an incendiary lie that we stole the election. And that incendiary lie is the blood libel. It is the fuse they lit that caused this violence. And it is not just the president. It is the Republicans on the Hill who are perpetuating the lie that the election was stolen, who even after the riot and the murder of Officer Sicknick, and our hearts are broken and go out to his family, even after that, they attempted to set aside the results of the Electoral College. And it is all of those Republicans who need to be held accountable. And every one of those protesters needs to be held accountable and arrested and prosecuted. The president, however, is the originator of this lie. He is the most accountable person. He needs to be removed from office by the 25th Amendment, by impeachment. He needs to be boxed in until then and until we have a new president. So we need to box him to protect our people and our Constitution. And then we need to remove him. If not before the 20th, on the 20th. And then we need to hold him and all of his enablers accountable.
Congressman, you left me so much to unpack, starting with blood libel, but I want to just deal with one other thing that's in the news and then come back to that. On Thursday, multiple news organizations reported that Donald Trump wasn't functioning at the top of the military chain of command, that the call to have the National Guard come to aid law enforcement was approved by Mike Pence, who was at the Capitol. You've also got reporting today in Axios that White House aides plan to ignore his orders. You've got the Dear Colleague letter from Speaker Pelosi saying that after a conversation with the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, she's been reassured that Donald Trump is not able to launch a nuclear strike. If he's not functioning as the country's commander-in-chief, what is he doing there?
Well, nothing good. And that's why he needs to be removed immediately. We all take comfort in knowing that our professional military officers should and will refuse unlawful orders. One of the attractions of the 25th Amendment is that it carries with it the possibility of immediately installing Vice President Pence as the acting president. And the Republicans in the cabinet and on the Hill need to be answering why they continue to support President Trump acting with the authorities of commander-in-chief. I don't want to find out that there are other flaws in the system, the way we found out on Wednesday when we were watching innocent people run for their lives. This is too serious now. This is a threat to our very constitutional system. We need to protect our country by boxing this president in until he is removed, and it needs to happen immediately.
A former Pentagon official said to me this week that, because of the way the rioters were treated, and I know that there'll be an investigation to understand why it was that they stood around. It looked like they were standing at a tailgate. I mean, nobody looked afraid. Like a normal burglar covers their face with a ski mask. No one was covering their faces. No one was hiding from cameras. They were waving flags for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 hours. That because of the way they were treated, they will simply take that act and move on potentially to other targets, state capitals and otherwise. Is it are we doing enough to protect other people who may be targeted by Trump's mob?
No, and I was on a call today with a half a dozen members of Congress who were taking a bunch of grief from MAGA hat wearing people on airplanes who were not wearing masks, who were congratulating themselves on the storming of the Capitol. There are people who are going to be identified from social media, from those videos. They need to be arrested and held accountable. And we need to puncture immediately any self-congratulatory notion that what happened was some sort of victory. I take some comfort in the fact that we gained control of the United States Senate and counted out 306 Electoral College votes for Joe Biden in the same 24-hour period that this insurrection occurred in. So we're winning the larger war here, but we need to make absolutely clear that there are consequences. Every Republican needs to stand up and be counted or held accountable. It is a choice. You are with that mob and with that violent crowd that killed a Capitol police officer on Wednesday, or you are with our Constitution. There's no middle ground. Every Republican needs to choose. And one more point.
Please.
If there is evidence that the president or his officials delayed the arrival of National Guard backup at the Capitol for the 2 hours when friends of mine were hiding in their offices, calling their husbands, telling them they might not see them again. One young woman told me a story. She's got 2 little kids. She called her husband and said, this might be it. And he was evacuating the House floor with me, and he said, I don't know what to tell you. And I'm telling you, if the National Guard was held back, then it's not enough to remove these people. They need to go to jail.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.